So someone asked recently for me to talk about my Avengers list that I played in Season 7 of TTS. I'm still of the belief that if I were to continue playing Avengers, this is just about what I would be using. The list performed extremely well all throughout my bracket. It's doing pretty well in top cut too. I don't think I did anything wrong per se, and I think this list's strengths are still extremely apparent. There are definitely some harder matchups, and dice are dice, but for the most part, I think you can play this list in just about anything. Obviously, it'll take reps to get used to it, that kind of thing, and like to learn where you're supposed to play what, blah blah blah. You can't just plug and play any list. But I was asked to talk about mine, so we'll talk about mine. There are no high threats. Other characters that I've had in this list before were, or other lists and characters. So I had Hulk, I had Black Widow, not Agent of Shield, Classic Widow, and I think that's it. I think so. Panther was a swap for Hulk, and Toad was a swap for Widow. Everything else here I brought to LVO. Um, wasn't cubes. I think it was, yeah. So I had at LVO I had Wakandan Herb and instead of research and hammers. So fear grips the world instead of cubes. I think there's a world where in this list I swap out research station for fear, because like that if I were to continue playing this list is probably what I would do. Research station's a little bit too reliant on dice for what I was trying to do with this list, which is just like just win type of stuff. And then these three, oh no, this was Gamma. Riots was Gamma instead because I had some cool stuff going on. I don't physically own Hulkbuster, so I didn't have the card for Helios. I don't know if they would have let me play with a proxy, but Helios was follow me, because I had some pretty nasty stuff that I could do with Hulk Vision on Gamma with follow me. Basically, turn 2, you're probably gonna have priority because you have 4 characters. Vision beams a whole bunch of people, gains a ton of power because you're on Gamma, so it's all right in the middle. And then you follow me into Hulk and mop up whoever's left, and then you're just kind of cruise out the rest of the game. So that was really fun. That's definitely a very smashy, enjoyable list to play. You can do like Hulk, Vision, Steve, Iron Man at 17. So if you get that magic number 17 on Gamma, which I did end up getting at LVO, it's pretty tough to fight into. But yeah, so this is stuff that was in the list that I ended up taking out. I still think the only change I would make to this list right now to continue making my hyper competitive list is probably swap research for hammers. But even so, I think even with research, it's still extremely strong. It has pretty good game into Criminal Syndicate even on research, and they're kind of the boogeyman of that crisis. But yeah, let's just get right down to it. So it's a combination Sam Steve list. You play Sam whenever you're going into attrition or whenever you don't know what you're fighting into, because Sam is more versatile. And then you play Steve if you think your opponent's going to play control, because Steve just enables you to play control with a much better power economy and much faster than any other team in the game. So like if they're going Web Warriors, you take Steve, you take Black Cat, you take Vision or something, and whatever else you want, maybe Black Panther, and you just push them off of points and do what they want to do, but better. Um, if they're playing like Black Order or Midnight Suns, you take Sam because you know some dazing's going to be happening. And whenever I'm picking Sam, the next character I'm picking is Luke Cage. Um, these four, so the Heroes for Hire, Iron Man, and Sam, were pretty much the backbone of my team. I was playing them almost every game, and I was very rarely disappointed. They all have effects that are either diceless or have very good odds of happening. Um, Sam basically just survives and has a crazy good leadership. He's a very good expert runner. He's fast. He can push people in a pinch. He's just good. Luke Cage is. If I had to pick one character on this team who is the absolute backbone, it's Luke Cage. He's extremely durable. He forces you to pay attention to him. He sometimes hits really hard. He has a terrain throw, so he has three sources of damage on his turn, two attacks and a throw. He can potentially throw characters. He can potentially stagger, which happened at least once during this season. He's just incredible. He does everything you need. Iron Man is almost as tanky as Luke Cage. Luke Cage has one more health, but Iron Man sits at range 4 away and pushes you off points. He is one of the best pieces in this game for just straight up like trying to win. He's a tanky control piece who can deal good damage, and he's ranged. Like, he's just good. And then Iron Fist is extremely durable to physical and energy attacks when you're close up in the middle of a melee. He has that big, ridiculous attack, and one of his most important functions in this is I actually play. He was a Hulk replacement for me because he gets 2 power a turn. You can use him with advanced R&D to fuel some of your stuff, either Vision's throw in Sam or Black Cat Steel under Steve, or just advanced R&D power to have other stuff online more quickly. But yeah, so basically the list, it's designed to just score out as quickly as possible. This isn't like a super attrition heavy list. It can flex into that, but it's really designed, even when I'm playing Sam, to just survive and score out as quickly as possible. So these 2 extracts are the highest scoring extracts in the game. Well, these 3 extracts technically are the highest scoring extracts in the game if you can actually complete Researcher. But Researcher is pretty dangerous. I think Hammers would be safer. So if I, again, were to switch back, I'd probably switch this out for Hammers. But Spiders and Cubes are, they're 5 wide. So there's 5 VPs just from extracts on the board. And between Dr. Voodoo and Black Cat, I have more stealing potential than any other team in the game. Kind of period. And then I have Black Panther, Toad, Sam, Black Cat again, and Dr. Voodoo, who are all able to move across the board and go steal an opposite F based on their movement. So medium base, medium move, or small base, long move. So my turn 1 was basically just like how much stuff can, oh, and Toad as well, is just how much stuff on your side of the board can I steal? How many victory points can I just take away? And there were a couple of times that I'd go like very often 3-up. 3-up was almost guaranteed with Black Cat under Steve, but I would pretty often go 4-up as well. And a 4 VP swing on extracts early on is a pretty ridiculous thing to happen, especially since turn 1 is before a lot of characters or a lot of teams really have turned on their power economy. They really do much besides just grab an extract and go sit on a point. Under Steve, you can do a whole lot more than that. So that's how these 2 work. Spider Infected and Cubes is you just try and steal the board as quickly as possible. But if I got priority, I was most likely picking my blues because pay-to-flips are much better for wide teams. So I was always running wide. My highest threat in this team is 4, which means I'm usually going like 5 or 6 wide. So pay-to-flips are just really good. And then Extremis is extremely good under Steve because you don't have access to healing, and pretty decent under Sam as well because you can go wide and you can spread yourself out better than a lot of teams, and it's very hard to kill people when you kill one of them. You're basically giving someone else on the table a health, and then they can heal themselves with Extremis. So, like, say you killed Toad on one side of the board. Well, you just healed Luke Cage, and then Luke Cage is going to heal himself, and then suddenly you have, Luke Cage with who just healed twice, and you probably had to dump at least an attack and a half into him to get that damage there. So it just becomes very hard to deal with how quickly I can score in combination with how tanky my team is on this crisis. And also, Panther rocks on Extremis. But yeah, I would pick my blues because they're all, well, these 2 are extremely bad for Criminal Syndicate, and Spiders, as bad as anything can be for Spiders. And this is decently bad for everyone, right? Like, Extremis just lets everyone stick around for a while, which can be obnoxious for all sorts of teams. Research Station, I would run something like this. At 16, which is very hard to deal with. And if I'm not picking priority and I get Research Station, that means I can pick 16 and force you into this. I've played this list a point down against stuff like Black Order, which is widely considered to be one of the better attrition teams in the game, which, is debatable. Guardians are still pretty wild. And there's other stuff that you can, like, even like Leaderless X-Force at 16 is pretty deadly as well. But yeah, this team, it's just win, right? Like, I have a lot of tankiness. I have a lot of meat that you have to chew through, along with a lot of really good damage, especially when you're sitting on research and you're all clumped up in the middle. And then Sam would run around scoring secure points just to keep me going. And then I just try and score out as quickly as possible. Avengers Assemble plus Vision Throw makes it, and like Iron Man in a pinch or Sam in a pinch, it makes it really hard for people to outscore you on Research or even CS because you just have a lot of control. They count double, but they can't count double if they're not there. What else? Toad is there because Toad is probably the best two threat in the game right now, at least for his purpose, which is being like a ridiculous extract runner. You very rarely attack with Toad. You just go grab extracts and then you hope you don't get one shot, which is pretty hard to do because he's got 5 health and 333. So they hit him once and then he runs away. And then his prehensile tongue means you can just interact with anything from further away. So that's why, like, even though he's a medium mover, you can do extract steals very easily. You can grab stuff from a fairly safe position. And then if you grab something and they commit a lot of resources to killing Toad, you're like, all right, whatever, he's two threat. And they have to commit a lot more than they're gonna want to kill Toad. Toad's a very obnoxious character. Um, let's go over each character because I think I just talked about all these crises decently enough. I'll go over my tactics cards in just a moment. Black Cat is ridiculous. I usually play her under Steve, but you can definitely play her under Sam as well. She's a long mover, so she has steals. She has decent damage. She has auto stagger on her spender, which only costs 2, so she's a very good control piece when she needs to be. Grappling hooks just extra mobility. You can't reroll against her, so she's like kind of hard to put down with stealth as well. Like it takes a very certain kind of character to put her down. Usually like someone with a throw and a high dice pool, like Hulk or Thor, which is not typically what you see a lot of when they're trying to chase down a black cat. As someone who's either twice or just about twice the threat value. It's not super fun. They have to do that. And then Master Cat Burglar is probably the most obnoxious thing on our card. An asset or civilian covers every token currently in the game, every extract token currently in the game, and she can just steal them. So with advanced R&D under Steve, you can do a turn 1 steal, which means that coupled with her long move, there's very few places on the board where you can hide from Black Cat if played well. So what I usually do is if I don't have priority or whatever, I'll just stick her in the middle, and then they are going to have to move up and grab one of the 5 F extracts or whatever. And there's very few places and very few characters that can safely do that. So once they've done that, I'll just double move her like last activation and steal it, and then go up on extract VPs. Black Panther is extremely tanky to physical and energy. He's Avengers affiliated. He does great damage with Mantle and Pounce. Yeah, he's just kind of great. Kinetic Burst is really, really, really good as a control ability. His strike pushes. He's kind of everything you want in a character for a team like this. He's fast, he's tanky, he has control, he can do damage in a pinch. He's just good. Like, under Steve, he's probably at his best because Mantle and Pounce both cost 1, but he's no slouch under Sam either. You don't really want to see him daze, but when his friends daze and you can get some healing on Panther, that's always good. Sam, everybody knows Sam at this point. Sam's crazy. He's fast. I never played him under Steve because I had better options in my opinion, but he's good under Steve. He's got charge. He's got great action economy. He's got a potentially like pushing 2 size 2 characters builder, which is nuts on a 3 threat. He's got a decent spender that can throw size 3. He's got great mobility. He's got airlift, which I never remember to do. He's decently tanky with vibranium shield, but I never really rely on dice being good in this game. Defensively, I mean. Steve's kind of underrated, but also kind of not. Steve is really, really good when he's really good and really, really bad when he's not. And what I mean by that is when you're playing Steve, you want to close out the game as quickly as possible because he lacks staying power. He is better than probably any other leader in the game turn 1, but he falls off really hard around like turn 3 is when his leadership stops being a huge factor. But if you can get an early advantage with him, like turn 1 or 2, which is not hard at all to do, you can coast out a game pretty easily. You just, like, he's not great into heavy attrition, even though he's a bodyguard. Like, if you're playing Steve into Guardians, or, like, Guardians, I'm drawing a blank, but, like, Wide Attrition or Black Order, you're going to have a tough time, because they can kind of kill you with impunity, whereas Sam's leadership allows you to react when they kill someone. Dr. Voodoo is also, he's in that similar realm to Black Cat, where he's an extract stealer. Makes it very easy to just score out the game. Great power generation, probably the best power generation in the game, especially for a 4th red. He's immune to Hex and Incinerate, so he's got a good little slew of abilities. Staff of Legba is one of the most bonkers builders in the game. Possession's insane. He has a terrain throw if you need some more damage. He's just good. Dr. Voodoo is just good. I won't say the 4th red of choice because we have 3 of the best 4th reds in the entire game in this list. But Dr. Voodoo is extremely good. If it's a spread extract, like if it's one of these Ds, I'll probably reach for Voodoo before I'll reach for Vision. Obviously depending on what I'm going up against. Speaking of, Vision is an absolute monster. Vision is it's probably Vision and then Luke Cage and then Panther and Iron Man and also Iron Fist. I like a lot of the characters in this list, but these 5 are probably my favorites to play. Vision has such a wide toolkit and such a high ceiling, like a skill ceiling. He's got a great slew of immunities. He's very defensive. Like he has, not only do his phasing forms give him extra defense dice, which is always nice, but they have like specific effects. You either can't push him or you can't throw at him. So mastering that, like what form should I be in and what form should I switch to in the power phase, is vital to playing Vision at his like upper level. Also, just basically, 2 cost size 3 terrain or character throw, nuts. Beam 4 5 die attack, also extremely good. Vision is just good. Like there's no two ways about it. He is one of the best characters in this game, and I don't think he's going anywhere. Toad is Toad, best extract runner in the game. For like, if you cross all the numbers, like threat value, X health, X defense, X ability to grab shit, Toad's just nuts. He's so annoying to deal with. I actually kind of hate this character, but he's really good, so I played him. Luke Cage, I mean, what could even be said? He's the main man. Like, if Luke Cage dies in a game, they probably committed so much to killing Luke Cage that you're fine with it. He was probably eating like multiple activations for like 2 or 3 rounds. He's just one of the best tank characters in the game. Iron Man we already talked about. Iron Fist we already talked about. The Iron Fist is obviously a ridiculous ability. These 2 in general, these 3 threats are why I'm never afraid of fighting something like Black Order. Like never afraid of fighting tall attrition, because you're not going to be able to attack who you want to, and then I'm going to blow you off the board with this guy, or just stop you from doing what you want to do with this guy. We talked about these. Okay, so Advanced R&D enables a lot of stuff. It enables Vision turn 1 throw. It enables Black Cat turn 1 steal, either under Steve or under Stam for Vision or under Steve for Black Cat. Avengers Assemble is probably the best affiliated card in the entire game. It's just turn-wide. It's team-wide climbing gear for every affiliated character. You take it every game. I can't think of a situation where you're playing Avengers where you wouldn't just bring this card. It does too much. It's such a powerful tactics card. You just reposition your entire team. Say like you're fighting Control, and they like Spider-Gwen and Thanos or whatever. They just pushed your entire team off the points. You just put them all back on at the end of the round. It's nuts. Brace Field Dressing. These are our restricted cards of choice. I do think one of the only weaknesses of a list like this, where you're running both Sam and Steve, is that Sam and Steve kind of want different tactics cards. Steve really wants Brace Field or Brace Medpack because he wants to get the most out of his tall characters' activations. He wants to run multiple 4s or even a 5 or a 6, and he wants those characters to do very well and have like a lot of extra health or whatever, a lot of extra resources to keep those single models alive. Sam wants field dressing so you can get an extra proc out of his leadership, because with Sam you're typically going a little bit wider. So once a character dies, you just bring him right back, and then you not only get a second proc of the leadership, but you get to use that character. So if you're going wider, you're not going to have priority. They have some big beater who kills your character, and you're like, all right, I barely care. I field dressing them, and they go anyway. So I basically lost nothing, and now you have to daze them again, or otherwise that character is not going to disappear. Like, say they're playing like Black Order, and they use their big chorus activation to take down Vision. You just field dressing Vision, rip into their whole team, or like throw away Thanos, and then chill on a point somewhere. And then they're like, well, I want Vision dead, so I have to dump another character into him. When you're running tall, it's a really, really annoying thing to do. Field dressing is great at the tall teams. Helios, I had actually never used Helios a single time before Season 7, and then I think I played this card like at least 4 or like 5 times. It's actually a lot better than I thought. You just need to overpay. You need to like if you're gonna use this card, you might as well dump like 30 power into it or whatever, right? Because you don't want to play Helios for like 10 power and have a 12 die attack and have that 12 die attack do like half of someone's health. If you're gonna do that, just take Ricochet Blast. You want to dump like 15 power into this and just blow someone off the map. That's what this card is for. And when you have people like Iron Fist who generate 2 a turn, Iron Man who just gain power from doing damage, and then like Vision who's just a battery. When you have a team like this, you can afford to do so. Heroes for Hire is, how do I even say this? Heroes for Hire is insane. This card, you can do it to yourself. So Luke Cage and Iron Fist can play it on themselves in a pinch. It's a reactive size 3 character throw that is also a bodyguard from range, and you pay for it with the character who's being targeted. Yeah. Just so think about all those things for a second. It's a size 3 reactive character throw with bodyguard that is paid for by the target of the attack. Not the character bodyguarding, by the target. And it's range 3 and it gives you a place. This card is nuts. Typically, people don't really want to attack Luke Cage or Iron Fist because they're really tanky, or in the case of Iron Fist, even if you do damage, you really don't want to do damage because then you give him power and he'll Falcon Punch you. And this card forces that to happen. You can also use the place to put Luke Cage in a place where he can then, too dangerous to ignore, his like taunt, so then they're just never going to attack who you want to attack. Additionally, it's a throw that you can place off of. So you can like say, okay, let's do this real quick. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Okay, let's just do this really quick. Say, this is fine. Say we have Amazing Spider-Man or whoever, and they're paying for Heroes for Hire, and they want you to be thrown this way. But you are over here, and like, oh, how can I get you to be thrown this way? Oh, I know. I can put Ancient One right here, and then an away throw is basically wherever I want. You have a ridiculous amount of freedom to push your attacker or throw your attacker in almost any direction because you have to place your bodyguard wherever you want around the person they're bodyguarding. So unless there's like 4 other models here that are totally blocking them off, you're probably going to be able to put them in a place where you can then throw them into terrain or something. So Heroes for Hire also says like, hey, if I left you on 1 health, if you attack, I will kill you on your own turn, unless you have a way of healing because of the throw. So, excellent card. I would argue one of the more meta-defining cards right now. But that's going to change going forward because this new wave is going to shake things up, the Fury Daredevil wave. But this card is still, it's always going to be really good. It's just a great card. Indomitable, I didn't play this all that often. It's probably better on tall teams than wide teams, but it's good in a pinch. It's really good against Juggernaut, the Do You Know Who I Am card, because it just turns that card off. But it's basically just like, it was better for my list when I had Hulk in the list, but I wasn't really hurting for tactics card slots, so I think this is okay. It just stops a displacement. So like when you're fighting control teams, it's really good. Like if you're fighting spiders, you can just stop a Gwen pull. Marked for Death is another spider card because it stops rerolls and stops stealth. So like say a black cat steals like the alien core and she's running away, and if you don't get that core back, you lose the game. Well, you can Marked for Death and then Helios her and then go pick it up and you're fine. Mission objective. Um, this card is probably not. It doesn't need to get restricted, but this card is damn near needing to get restricted. It it basically says, oh, so you're holding like for one thing it can do is it can like enable like herb stuff or legacy virus stuff or something like that. But if you're not playing legacy virus because you're a good person, it allows you to say, oh, you daze someone who's holding a spider or you daze someone who's holding a cube or a hammer or whatever. I'm gonna give it to my friend. So like this again, if I was to switch back to hammers, what would happen a lot is Toad would grab my home hammer, and Hulk would go grab my side hammer, and then Toad would go hang out with Hulk. So then when Toad dies, Hulk now has 2 hammers. It's a reactive ability to save yourself VPs. It's extremely good. And then Sacrifice. Sacrifice is another crazy good card. It is bodyguard for whoever you want. So, say they're attacking your best friend Vision. What if you're attacking Toad instead? Because Toad's sitting right there. I think that sounds like a great plan. Especially under Sam, this card is exceptionally good because you can sacrifice a low health target who they're trying to avoid to not give you a Sam trigger, and then you get your Sam trigger. So something really nasty you can do is say Mr. Toad is holding an objective, like a cube, and he's on 1 health, and like, oh, he'll die in the power phase. This is great. I'm gonna attack his buddy, Vision. No, I'm going to sacrifice Toad. Sacrifice Toad. Toad's gonna die. Toad's gonna mission objective the cube division. So Vision's now holding the cube, and then Sam's gonna trigger off a Toad and give Vision a free small move and a heal away. So you just took your character who you want to survive out of harm's way, replaced an extract from a different character onto them, and healed them one. So a lot of cool stuff you can do. But yeah, that's basically the list. I've had it be called Avengers Criminal Syndicate before because I just steal the board as quickly as possible, and it's pretty nasty. I'm a big fan of it. But yeah, if you guys want me to do this with other lists that you see me play, I probably will. This was kind of fun. But yeah, till next time. Bye bye.